We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. This is brought to you by Red Voice Media. And as always, we've got a heck of a show for you. A heck of a show. Oh, I forgot to put this light on over here. Hold on. We're going to get a little light. We're going to make some magic happen here, folks. Look at that. Boom. Boom. Just a little bit more. There we go. Now we're evening it out. Now I'm not so dark. Okay. So, we're going to be talking about the Track Trace Database Society. That's certainly on the table. And speaking of tables, I'm going to have to replace this one. Little jittery every time I tap it. It moves my camera. I could move the mount, but I really like just a very straight. I look at my broadcaster, got everything under control, lets me manage things very well while I talk to you guys. So we're going to be talking about this bill that's been introduced by Ted Cruz. I'm not sitting here saying, go Ted, go. Ted Cruz is one of those monster, I mean, he is Grandpa Monster, right? I mean, everybody agrees that he literally looks like he's the bastard son of him. Forget about the CIA and Oswald and all that stuff. I mean, I can't believe Rob Zombie didn't try to cast Ted Cruz in the recent remake because it was obvious. There are some times where Ted Cruz has been on the correct side of the issue and that Ted Cruz has raised questions or concerns that you don't see being raised by others. Not enough. Certainly in a very limited hangout sense. And he's wrong a lot of the time. He's one of these guys who wants to call everybody else on the opposition side a domestic terrorist. He's one of these guys who wants to dip his toe into free speech, but not really go for it. So, you know, this guy's a soft, quintessential politician in my eyes. And by the way, it's a little too late to be introducing bills that are going to do what for you? Stop something that's been in play 10, 15, probably 20 years in some instances. Jason, what are you talking about? 10, 15, 20 years. This track trace. First of all, these bad boys, these ones right here, they act like the ultimate travel spy device on you. I think most of us get it. If you're watching this, you totally get it. But even if they tell you they're not listening to you or recording you, what they are doing are trying to keep as many audio-visual devices open as possible and run different types of algorithmic software on these things so they can then advertise to you bare minimum. But in reality, they also build what is known as, or will be known as, later on down the line, a mind clone. It's a Kurzweilian term. It's also a term that Martin Rothblatt uses in this transhumanist arena. Now, we're going to talk about Ted Cruz, refrigerators, your dryer. That's been going on for a very long time. Before you had smart devices like the televisions with the Roku and the On and the remote control that listens to you and you can talk and the voice, the whole nine, right? There were still just some dumb cable boxes, dumb ones, that had microphones in them. And this is something, again, love him or hate him, Alex Jones was talking about for years and years and years and years before anybody else. And I know this because I was there. And I was talking about it years and years and years and years and years and years ago. Okay? So, in that sense, hey, we've kind of missed the train. What we have to worry about now is not only the access that nation states, corporations, bad actors in intelligence units and cabals. I think that's an accurate statement. Well, intelligence units and cabals don't exist, Jason. That's a conspiracy theory. There's no such thing. It's like I'm not allowed to talk about signature reduction. I'm not allowed to talk about these fusion centers that are all over the country that have proliferated everywhere. And it's funny, yesterday I was going to play this Rolling Stone interview with Bill Gates. Now, I watched the vast majority of it. It's like 30 minutes long. It gets juicy around minute 13 or so. That's where they start talking about 3D printed foods and the markets. All right. Then it gets a little dicey in this kind of situation over here, but they're talking about they always talk about microchips in them. Microchips. Like as if microchips that are biologically implantable also don't exist. Or that anybody said that was the real concern of the hate and lies arena. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm torn because after that, we get into geoengineering, okay? Again, all of it in Shade the Motion Picture. I almost feel like I'll play some of that and maybe play some of Shade the Motion Picture in the geoengineering arena. All of the entire Gates section is just like spot on this dude. And there's even a section before the Gates section with a little bit of Gates. That's how concerned I was. But what do they lump it into? And this is the psychological operation, everybody. This is why I get so emotional and upset when I talk about not believing in fairy tales and citing your sources and the QAnon nonsense in particular. Is that all these things that I was talking about then now get lumped into this QAnon nonsense arena. Doesn't matter. They're running investigative pieces 15 years after I put in a film and I'd been preaching about since I probably learned about the United 23 in 2002. So preaching about, think about just that journey. And then I promise you we're going to get over into Huff, which is the extension of the spine. And I'm going to explain that too. Not just microphones, but other ways and wavelengths where they can spy on you in ways you can't imagine. Okay? And Huff, the whistleblower from EcoHealth, talked about that. And where did he talk about it? Alex Jones. All right? So, before we get there, think about this journey I'm on. First of all, it's 2001. So, to give a picture to most people, now that I know that I got an older audience, but if there's any youngsters out there or anybody that just wants to go down memory lane with me. Now, there hadn't been a war since the first televised Gulf War, which it was like a couple weeks and we didn't even think about it anymore. You know, this is a time period where at least the first Gulf War, you had about 15, maybe 20 channels max, depending on where you live in the country. Okay, so you have that. Very easy to propagandize the population. Most bought into the whole idea. Saddam Hussein bad. We go in there, boom, 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 boom. We fix everything quick. Make deals, get out. That's like mid-90s. Fast forward to half a decade. And it's not, no, that's early 90s. I'm sorry. That's Bush era 90s. So it's even more. You're fast forward almost a decade. Now, whether you liked Bill Clinton or not, on the surface, most of us were not into the Clinton body count or Whitewater or any of these things. We had no idea that he was connected to Mena, Arkansas, and the Bush family and the Iran-Contra conduit, which is actually not only documented, but it's parodied in the pseudo-biofilm on Barry Seal, where Tom Cruise plays Barry Seal, American Made. They give you a half-hearted joke that Bill Clinton's in the network, and he's the one that gets Barry Seal out of jail. Again, we have a section in Invisible Empire on Mena, Arkansas, and Bill Clinton, and the relationship to Bush in particular. And then at the end of the film, to their credit, you know what they show? They show archived footage of somebody in the press corps daring to question the then Vice President Bush, I believe. I think he's still the Vice President when the question gets asked about Iran-Contra, to their credit. Okay, so I'm on this journey where life's been pretty good. Life has been pretty good. Gas is cheap. I'm in college, and I'm just out of college in 2001. I'm a beauty school dropout, no doubt about it. But the future's really bright for me. And what do I mean by that? Well, jobs are out there. People are making money. Gas is low. Rent is low. Like, I'm $400 to $500 a month for a pretty nice 1 or 2 bedrooms sometimes. In upstate New York, no big deal. It's 20-something years ago. Hard to believe you could even do that now. Hey, good luck. Good luck. Okay? And even moving down to the city or another area in the country, everything seems really promising. Okay? So then there's some turmoil. Oh, the Republicans steal the election. Sure looked like Bush stole the election, right? And at the time, Gore is just kind of the right-hand man to Clinton. You're thinking there's going to be an extension of the prosperity that most of us had in that time period. The internet's coming up. Everything's booming. This devastating attack happens in New York. Changes just the especially where I am, the culture almost immediately. And like I said, just because the internet's starting to boom, and I'm a tech nerd, and I'm interested in all this stuff, because I want to be a part of it. Like, that's where I want to make my career mostly, and some kind of 3D graphics is what I'm thinking at the time. But still, I loved Photoshop and print and video editing, if available, was something I was really into as well. So it happens, and it takes me a while. I mean, there's a few shocking things that are said, but in 6 months in, I hear a couple shocking things. I see some things that maybe I'm questioning, but then I don't think about much. And I've taken people through this moment. Eventually, I go back to my old high school, graduate with 50 kids. In the urinal is Bin Laden's face. This is a place for middle schoolers to high schoolers, 12-year-olds. And something clicks. And then I go on what it feels like now, although I remember a lot of it like it was yesterday, this journey of darkness where you not only unravel 9/11, but all these other things. That there is a total information awareness network. That DARPA, which I hardly knew anything about, might not be the best thing ever. That the CIA and the NSA were not only spying on people, but involved in all sorts of criminal activity. All these things unraveled before your eyes. And in the early 2000s, people did not want to hear it. Okay, in fact, I got a Code Pink clip I want to show. By 2003, prior to the Iraq War, when the lies started to become more obvious, you notice as time progresses, the lies always, about the main issue, always get more and more outlandish. They go for broke. If they admit they were wrong, we're talking a decade or two later. All right? So at the time, I'm flipping pizzas. I'm sleeping in closets, on couches. You think people were listening to me in my early 20s about this? But meanwhile, I'm archiving everything. And I'm burning discs. And I'm talking to those who are going to listen. And I'm doing what I think I can in my little way. It seems like an impossible journey that myself and a couple other guys are part of a global phenomenon that begins to peel back the layers. And we're demonized, and we're debunked, and there are hit pieces all the time. People don't want to debate me, right? They go for lower hanging fruit. But essentially, this new narrative comes out that because of people like us, we're the godfathers of disinformation. And so many journalists have tried to say we're like the QAnon inspiration. Loose change is the QAnon inspiration. No. Not even close. The QAnon nonsense and your Cass Sunstein nonsense was your operation to try to discredit the truth continually. That's the opening rant for today. See, sometimes I think I'm going to come in hot, guys, and I'm going to do like 2-3 minutes and get to a story, and then we do the 15. It's reality rants, right? We're here for a while. By the way, second hour, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Come on, we had a couple people come on over for 50 cents, or I'm sorry, $1 for the first week. They came right on over. You can do the same thing, try it out for a week for $1, and then cancel if you must. But otherwise, come on over and $10 a month or lock it in for the year, $100. I'm not going anywhere. As you've seen now continually, we're only expanding here at Red Voice Media. Yeah, watch out. We're getting bigger. And a lot of that's thanks to you guys. I really do appreciate it. You watching on Rumble, thank you. Watching on Rockfin, thank you. Share the Twitter links. By the way, Twitter's about to clear and delete a bunch of videos. All the entire archive of those. And that's why you multi-stream. Right? I want to give props to Odyssey out there as well because they have archived my YouTube channel in case that gets taken down. And you just never know because, hey, is your refrigerator spying on you? Again, stuff Jones was telling you years and years and years ago. But here's the thing. They can say they're going to get out all of the microphones or the cameras and they got to display it like a display on a cigarette or alcohol box. You know, if you're pregnant, maybe you shouldn't be boozing. You shouldn't be boozing. If you look at this, to me, a lot of this, you know, is old news. But let's hear what Teddy has to say.
First, I'm very pleased that we'll be marking up the Informing Consumers About Smart Devices Act, which is a bill that I introduced along with Chair Cantwell. This important bill will help ensure that the privacy and security of American households remains intact. As the number of smart devices found in homes steadily climbs, consumers deserve greater transparency about how these devices work and how they impact your privacy. Americans should know if their fridge is recording their family's words and movements, and they should know whether their virtual assistant is transmitting audio recordings of private family conversations.
Problem is, they use things that are AVR, auto voice recognition. In fact, let's see if we can find Alfonso. Oh, is it Alfonso AVR software? We do it live. I didn't think about this. No. Maybe with the P? Let's see. Alfonso software spying on you. We're 0 for 2 on Google. Okay, so this is it right here. It is Alfonso. And make sure your smartphone apps aren't that. So let's see. Alfonso software. I think it's ACR, auto content recognition. There it is. So let's see. Let's go to some videos. We've played some of these videos before, but Let's go. I want to go to their PR. Their PR stuff is like the best stuff ever. I mean, a lot of these people, turns on your microphone, dark runners. See, it's games. It's not stuff that you would even think about. There's no, man, it drives me nuts that more and more people do not realize how bad this is. All right, so let's see. There's the software. We want English, not Finnish. It's everywhere. We are in English. Are you kidding me? All right, we're going to do this because it's actually really interesting. They openly tell you and bragged, and this is years and years and years ago that they did this. Alfonso Software, ACR, what do we want to do here? TV. Smart TV. Let's see if we get videos. Otherwise, we're going to have to just go to DuckDuckGo. Let's see, better measurement. This is, we'll go with this 2019 one. We were doing this, man, like 2017, 2018, 2016 maybe, the videos are from. That's really what I want, because he's so eager to tell you about it. Let's see. Let's do that. Let's go to DuckDuckGo. Yeah, DuckDuckGo. We'll DuckDuckGo it. See if we get anything different. I bet you anything we get something different. Take out some of that smart TV. Very disappointing. I'm super disappointed in this because I didn't want the media piece. I wanted to show people. Here's PR Web. Maybe we'll get something like there. There's the nice little logo. Alfonso Video AI is really what I wanted to show people. LG. Oh, yeah, it's right in LG, Psyche. There you go. Skyworth, RCA. Oh, I guess we're going to have to pass on the rest of that. But what I do want to talk about is this. If you're not paying attention to Andrew Huff, here he is right here. You should be. Because he worked on all sorts of little projects. Now, Huff comes in heavy with the lab leak theory. I don't think it was a leak, obviously. We don't want to get too far into what his allegations are. EcoHealth put a statement out on him. But he discussed how there are methodologies to spy on you. And first of all, we're talking about just regular law enforcement. Sometimes having cameras that are essentially infrared heat recognition cameras that see through walls. That's baseline. That's baseline. Now, think more along the lines of your router and your modems and how they run on certain frequencies, right? A lot of people have dual band, sometimes tri-band. There's now Wi-Fi 6, but there's the 5 gigahertz. There's the old school 2.4. Routers came in, I believe, as like B, W, G, N, all these different wavelengths. Lights. Let me repeat this. Lights. LEDs, smart devices, all sorts of things can, in theory, project wavelengths you may not be aware of. So forget about just putting in something like, I don't know, a camera or a microphone. You may be able to do some kind of surveillance by literal light emission from smart devices. On top of the wavelengths that and the bands that your phone is using all the time, pinging. And you can block it. And some people say, hey, you want to feed it bad information, et cetera, et cetera. That's all great. But the bottom line is it's everywhere. So you unless you're unless you're off the grid, okay, you got no cell devices whatsoever, and any kind of device that can plug into a wall. I mean, anything made in the last 20 years could have a back door into it where some kind of surveillance could take place. So, look, thanks, Ted. I guess you're trying to be on the right side of history on this one. Way behind the game. These devices are absolutely your video game system. All these devices want to go into eco mode and be on all the time. Eco mode. They're so concerned. Everybody's so concerned about zero emissions. You know, that's going to bring us to Gates in a moment. Because I've got to play this clip. To me, it's frightening because it's 2+ years old. And man, I'm a little nervous because I don't want this taken off of YouTube. I don't want to get a strike. I don't want to say anything about at all. I kind of want to let Gates run with it because what he says is just incredible. But the first thing that they're going to discuss, at least, you know, and I've heard all the other stuff that they talk about in the first 13, 14 minutes. You should probably check that out too, right? But you got this guy fawning over Bill Gates fawning over him from the Rolling Stone. And Gates even admits, if you're a guy or a gal that doesn't believe in climate change, well, this book is not the one that's going to convince you because there's no science in it. There's no reality in it. It's a PR piece. Okay? And Bill Gates sits down, says, this is what we want to convey, and this is how we want to do it with somebody else. And they write out the plans with their little buzz terms. And that's why in all these new sustainability plans, every bullshit buzzword you can imagine is in there. Every one. And we also got a piece from the Tuckins last night where he calls these people out for exactly what it is. It's command and control. And by the way, they don't like you. They want less of you. All right? When you start talking about there's too many people, look around. You're a target. You should feel like you are under attack because you are. So inclusion, diversity, sustainability, productivity improvement. Yuck. And they're heavy on the 2035 goals. You know, they've pushed some of the goals from 2030 to 2035. There are moments of some types of honesty, but honestly, a lot of it's a lot of hate and lies. So let's get to it. Let's get to Gates and the Rolling Stone.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Great.
Now the IPCC has been talking about it. What have you learned about it in your research on this? And are you feeling more?
Will you fly your planes green? Will you make your buildings green? Will you turn your lights on green? And if they say no, you failed.
So just to talk about a couple of other things, one thing that I think a lot of Americans are going to be not thrilled to hear is that you predict that the hamburgers as we know them will go the way of internal combustion engines.
Now, I want everybody to think about this. He tells you here that he's invested in Impossible, Beyond, all those big companies. He's constantly invested in the agenda more than anybody. And invested through tax-free foundations. Now, I've got an old school G. Edward Griffin clip. We've been big on the old school G. Edward Griffin clips because they're pure gold, everybody. Where he discusses a lot of this. All right? But let's just hear what Billy has to say.
That there's an inevitable kind of move towards 100% sort of synthetic meats. Is that right?
Well, I funded Impossible. I funded Beyond. Breakthrough Energy has a bunch of new ones, including Nature's Find, which is super interesting because they use fungi to actually do the protein production. And it looks like it's very efficient. Every industry is subject to competition. So put aside climate change. If somebody can make ground beef that tastes as good for a lower price, is that un-American?
Let's just stop right there. That's key. Because he's not, he's alluding to, look, we're going to have this delicious, savory, fake, cheap meat. Well, if you haven't seen the price of meat lately, and ground beef in particular, it's come down a little bit from the heights of when inflation was getting out of control. I was seeing it on the regular 80-20. and not the stuff in the bag, but 80/20 was going for $4 or $5 a pound. That's 80/20 ground beef. For some, you saw some of the prices on steak. You can still see in supermarkets certain cuts going for $24, $25 a pound in certain areas. All right. Not hard to have a cheaper product they tell you is more delicious and nutritious, of course. And you have to believe them because it's part of the great narrative, right? And guess who it'll be produced by? Bill Gates and friends. Great idea. Fantastic idea. Love it.
You really have to kill the cow. I mean, I don't know. Some people find it fun. Some people find that unattractive. It's great that the cow-based approach, people are looking at ways of reducing emissions by changing the diet or capturing the methane. And so you should never count out the dominant means of production.
Let's just stop right there. Now, first of all, changing the diet. I'm a big believer in garbage in, garbage out. So the better you feed your cattle, right? That's why they have the grass-fed beef, etc. No, I'm not pushing back against that. You shouldn't be pushing back against that. That's good times. But when they talk about methane capture, they're talking about fart baggery. Now it's command and control over methane, over carbon. We've thrown nitrogen into the mix internationally. It's over these resources.
And, the agricultural sector, in terms of if biofuels are able to be competitive, then your demand on the agriculture sector, you're adding into their role in this. I eat, normal beef. I mix in the other beef.
No, he doesn't.
Will there potentially be competition in ground beef? And will that somewhat be preferred because of climate-related reasons? Other people can look at the dynamics in the market in terms of the cost structures, and they have an R&D pathway where they truly fool you and you can't tell the difference.
I mean, oh my God. You can't tell the difference. Like, they're giving you some D-grade meat on the side if you can't tell the difference between that and impossible meat or beyond meat.
Right.
And, you can be skeptical that will they achieve that. There are some of these products, like the Nature Finds ones that come out later this year, where I really could not tell. In fact, I actually thought it was better. But I'm not Nathan Myhrvold. I don't write cookbooks and, do taste tests for high-end companies.
So no Bill Gates cookbook coming out soon.
No. Nathan can own the market on the science-based cookbook.
Trust the science-based cookbook. The science-based cookbook. Oh, don't worry. We're going to get into some Bill Gates and science. Lovely.
Category.
So,
Look at his face. Is that a face that isn't telling you immediately he's entirely full of shit? This guy. Benevolent billionaires. Billionaires love you. Bill Gates loves you too.
you've, obviously been working on disease and public health for a very long time.
So here's where it's getting dicey, guys. Do I play this? I didn't even play the Fauci clip that's all over TV and all over the internet. You know why? There are special rules on this channel that I don't get to make commentary on YouTube. All right, so I'm going to start this with a disclaimer. If we, for some reason, I'm not saying any of this.
With your malaria projects and everything else that you've done in Africa. I was a little surprised in your book that you didn't talk a lot about how climate change is going to impact disease changes and disease vectors throughout the world. And, I think there's been a number of studies saying it's going to change, malaria patterns in Africa and, other kind of diseases that are carried by vectors that are associated with temperature changes.
Again, look at Bill Gates' face. He knows everything this guy is saying is total and complete, hypothetical Johnny nonsense and the tactics of a violent propaganda that says you're bad, you're causing climate change as the climate does change and it gets hotter. Because really, they still love their global warming model, but they realize that it again is total and complete Johnny nonsense. So they've integrated the climate change idea into it, right? Climate change. Ooh, climate change. They have no idea how it would affect regular viruses, right? And remember, this guy's still pushing that the nightmare we all went through was a zoonotic virus. It came from nature. It was naturally occurring. If you watch Earth 2100, the propaganda piece that included Van Jones and Fauci and James Woolsey of the CIA and Eric Schmidt of Google and John Podesta, remember that one? They propagate the same thing. It's the same talking line. This is an interview in 2020, 2021. Not sure exact date. Probably, it could be either. Okay, probably 2020, actually. Probably late 2020. And that is a produced television show with a cartoon along the way to tell you how bad it's going to get and how many diseases and plagues are going to come because of climate change, put out in 2008. The talking points haven't changed. You're bad. You're bad. They have no idea. Let's say the climate went up. What are they saying we got to do? Tucker Carlson does a great piece. We're going to play that Tucker's piece. I think he says something like 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay. Like say, ooh, on the average, ooh, it's going to change it all. That's not, and they're going to act like that's it. We're done. It's over. Coastlines are devastated. The power grid is out. The food supply is done. The soil is dead. And that's another thing that Gates. No, look, our soil sucks. But why is that? Is it over farming? Is it over farming, or is it maybe the stuff that you guys at the top in the predator class make them spray their crops with? Or perhaps it has something to do with what's being sprayed in the air under geoengineering programs and solar radiation management that supposedly doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. It's magic. Okay, just pointing that out. So here we go. Here's more on virus and sickness outbreaks because of climate change.
How do you think in the big picture about how climate is going to impact diseases?
Well, we have to be a little careful when we motivate people that care about climate to stick to things that are largely true, even though...
Like, it's pretty funny. Largely true. First of all, that's a ridiculous... They're largely true. Does that mean they're bigly true? Remember the Trump like bigly. We're going bigly. Well, they're largely true. So does that mean that if they're this much true, but compared to something else that's arbitrary and a little microscope, now they're largely true? So he's telling you on the face how absurd this is. But don't worry, he'll promote it.
Oh, it's such an important cause. You might think, hey, we'll take a little license here. So when you have a climate conference...
We'll take a little license here. I mean, that's why we had to play a lot of this thing. It's so revealing. It's such a big deal. In other words, we're the adults. You're the children. We'll say anything because it's so important. The ends justify the means because it's so bad.
And you bring in, say, a kid who's been in a hurricane, and you're like, oh my God, a hurricane. We have to stop these hurricanes. And if we just do the right thing for climate, there'll never be a hurricane again. That's pushing the envelope, I would say. Yes, climate causes more intense hurricanes, we believe today. But
we believe today. We believe today. We trust the science. We believe today. I mean, there's so many like if you're playing poker, any poker player, anybody who's adept at seeing someone who's outwardly lying and giving out, this is it. This is it.
Earth dries, you get less mosquitoes. Now, what you do get higher temperature, you do get the cities in Africa that were placed high up because the mosquitoes couldn't get there to not have malaria. And so the patterns of where the insect disease stuff will be they'll be in new areas. They may even bite a few rich people, like Lyme disease.
Oh, they might even bite a few rich people like Lyme disease. Ooh, donate your money. He's not talking to his rich buddies, okay? He's not talking to Warren Buffett. In fact, he talks a little bit about Warren Buffett in this interview, that the book is for a guy like Buffett that hasn't spent a lot of time on the climate issue, but really needs to. He understands it's real. We got to find the investment routes. I mean, look at Lyme disease. Again, we featured Fort Detrick and their biological laboratories. All right? And we've talked about the fact that the evidence shows that, again, seems like part of another bioweapons program. And that disease, what? Attacks your immune system, like so many other of these things. It's so weird. It's so bizarre.
So yes, there will be some shift in where those things go. Overall, because of huge deforestation caused by climate change.
Deforestation caused by climate change. Remember that. Now, again, I'm old enough to remember this. I know a lot of you guys remember it. Okay, I know a lot of you guys do. Back in the day, what was the big deal? What was everybody talking about? Everybody was talking about plant a tree. Oh, where the rainforests are going. We're taking the rainforests away. Plant a tree, lad. Now it's don't even bother. Like Bill Gates, we don't need to grow new trees. Now climate change is causing deforestation. And all the wildfires are climate change. And he's like, we can't say we can knock out every hurricane, but maybe we should. Maybe we should say things like that. My God.
The number of mosquitoes in the world will be less. Now, malaria happens to be a problem that I think we should solve using tools. Letting malaria continue and saying, oh my God, it'll be worse because of climate change, that's not my strategy. My strategy is let's get rid of malaria. Believe me, the plan for getting rid of malaria is a lot clearer, who has to do what and how it happens, including how it gets financed, than any source of climate emissions.
So he talks about right there, everybody's like the climate emissions are number one. It's our doom. It's our last chance again and again and again and again. And he's saying solving the malaria problem is more important. Now, in reality, it really is actually more important. But you know how you do that? You build an infrastructure where you have a clean sanitation system and a clean water system, right? And some modern amenities, but that's not what they're trying to sell on clearing up malaria. All right, he's selling you on what? Genetically modified organisms, including mosquitoes, that have a built-in boop boop for you. The built-in boop boop from the GMO mosquito. And people will go, you know what, Jason? I'm done with you. That's ridiculous. No. So, the old GMO mosquito. God, like I said, they love you. Why? Oh, I know why. Because I got that. Let's see. Let's do some of that right there. Perfect. Scientists discovered a way to use mosquitoes to administer you betches. A research team published their findings about the clinical trials. The study says that the scientists genetically modified parasites called Plasmodium falciparum to deliver, malaria that were passed on through mosquito bites. So that's what he's more concerned with. That's the numero uno. Again, not modern roadways or infrastructure, not, dirty electric, not a power plant. That's like, he loves everybody, that Bill Gates. He is a lover, that man. He is Larry Lovins, this guy. In fact, when we get, I almost want to stop it right there. And we'll get the rest of that, including the geoengineering, on the flip side, over on the paid portion of the broadcast, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Okay? That's where you want to be. Come on over. Myself, Matt Couch, Chad Canton, Ray Dietrich, Drew Berquist, Alicia Powell. Pow. That's what I'm talking about. We got a lineup. I've got other videos I want to play. How do we get here? What is the mode? Well, this guy has a bunch of them, but the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of his many tools. And then he works with the private sector. He'll talk about institutions like Gavi. Tucker Carlson, maybe we'll play this piece in the second half, because we're definitely going to play the climate piece, at least part of it in the second half. I don't think that we're going to be able to get through all of it here, because I'll be stopping it. We'll probably go to that next. But I want to play G. Edward Griffin, all right, talking about these NGOs. And then the Tuckins went after Moderna last night. So the Moderna piece we might play also in the second hour. It's going to be a banger of a second hour. You can listen for free over at the InfoWarrior Podbean channel. And again, we do it live. There's a bunch of free broadcasts from a couple weeks ago. You can check those out in my Twitter feed, or just go to redvoicemedia.com. That second hour becomes free for everybody, because it's about getting the information out, right? That's the reality of all of this. I want to make that extremely clear, is we need to come together and share this information so we can come up against it. And that's why, let's play this quick. This is Code Pink doing their thing. And back in the day, when the right rejected me and thought that I was a kook, and how dare I question the Bush administration, and the Tucker Carlsons of the world were coming after Jason Bermas, many others, the Rush Limbaughs of the world, all those people, Code Pink allowed me to speak. Many of those people were by my side. Now, are they perfect? Hell no. But who else is stepping up to the plate right now when World War III is about to go down?
Thank you very much, Chairman Menendez, Ranking Member Risch, committee members. Very good to be with you today, as always. And thanks for the opportunity to speak to the administration's proposed FY24 budget for the State Department and the Agency for International Development. We meet at an inflection point.
So they drag him right out. Yeah, we do meet at an inflection point. You guys don't want to stop. You don't want diplomatic talks. You're saying the only way we're stopping is Putin regime change? Let's bring it back.
Thank you very much, Chairman Menendez, Ranking Member Risch, committee members.
Get him out of here
today, as always. And thanks for the opportunity to speak to the
Blinken is a war hawk.
FY24 budget for the State Department.
And he's a punk. He's supposed to have respect for these people. These people are causing a lot of people to die. Human life should be of value to everybody. And realize when there was a bunch of people dying, it's not good for anybody or any civilization. Okay? So I want to play, what do we got? 12 minutes? All right. Well, we're going to play some of this Tuckins piece. And then we'll probably play G. Edward Griffin. He can talk about the NGOs. And then we'll go back to the Gates on the other side of this. Again, thumbs it up, by the way. We don't even have 150 thumbs up over on YouTube. Hit that like button. Share over on Rumble. I want to thank the audience over on Twitter. Make sure you're sharing the tweets. We're highly shadow banned over there. It is very tough to grow our Twitter, but that's where the conversation is, right? So let's get to the Tuckins.
For the Chinese, it's just so easy. How do you win a war without fighting? By getting your adversary to kill himself. Well, how do you convince a strong, self-respecting, powerful country like ours that has ruled the world for 100 years to do that? Turns out it's pretty easy. You take a collection of dumb, desperate people in middle age, hoping to keep on to their stupid TV jobs. You add scripts and some hairspray, and they just repeat the lies for you, And then all the people in the country sort of nod, yeah, that's exactly right. We got to do that. Respect indigenous knowledge. Stop.
And by the way, what he's doing is he's talking about the UN and what they've put down for this sustainability agenda. Maybe I should even bring it back further, man. But you know what? They're also talking about China, and China's just the model. Again, they like the authoritarian model of control, the top-down control. There's a lot of people there. Again, it's not what people think, but at the same time, the acceptance of the technology is what they want.
Driving our cars. And the amazing thing, it's kind of working. So what exactly is the science behind all this? Well, on Substack, where actual scientists now reside, a political scientist called Roger Pilkey did a deep dive on where these people got the idea that the world will end if temperatures jump 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's the globally accepted goal, according to the AP. Well, it turns out that globally accepted goal originated in a newspaper advertisement and a draft paper that was not even peer-reviewed. Now, it's in the Paris Climate Agreement. That's the power of marketing.
It is the power of marketing. That's PR. Okay, that's public relations. That's the Bernaysian tools that have been used for some time, all right, that were really pioneered by him and the pseudo-intellectuals, in my opinion, before him.
What's the point, of course? What's the point of the marketing? It's to destroy one civilization to be supplanted by the next civilization. Unfortunately, we're the one being destroyed, or that is destroying itself. And no one at the UN, by the way, cares about the data, where it came from, because the real goal has nothing to do with the environment. Of course. Duh! Look at the pollution! If you cared about the environment, this is a tough time to live. But ever since Julian Huxley took over UNESCO in the 1940s, pushing Malthusianism, the idea that the world's overpopulated has been the dominant way of thinking for the people in charge.
Just the fact that he named Julian Huxley, all right, and he talked about Malthusianism by name, which I hope, I'll bet you a lot of people within his audience don't really understand what that is. That is what the value of a life is, and that there is a ruling predator class, the people that believe in social Darwinism, that need to manage that and regulate that and have a God-given right to do so.
Except with respect to their own families, they have as many kids as they want, but you're not allowed to. And that leads to moments like the one we saw a month ago, where the Harvard historian, Naomi Oreskes, wrote an op-ed in Scientific American entitled 8 billion people in the world is a crisis, not an achievement. Well, if you're one of those 8 billion, that seems like hostility. If some chick is writing a piece in a science magazine about how your existence is bad, that might make you nervous, right? It should. And
exactly. It should make you nervous. Like, what are you talking about?
it may explain why these people oppose nuclear energy, which seems like a solution, but they're against that too. So it's not really about carbon emissions, is it? It's about hurting people, specific people. They think there are too many people. And this view is very widespread. It's why the leaders of the Democratic Party are always in your face telling you to get an abortion. Hurry up and get an abortion. It'll help the GDP. It doesn't hurt, of course, that getting rid of fossil fuels would mean a lot of Democratic Party leaders will get a lot richer. Their donors certainly will, the ones in the renewable industry. It also means a ton of money for people with no skills at all, like Jen Granholm, who's now the energy secretary, who owns stock in these green energy companies while she was in office.
Oh, wow. It's almost like we don't have a real form of not only democracy, but our constitutional republic is really one of crony capitalism that equates to techno-biological fascism.
It's also corrupt. It's unbelievable. And they're in your face. There's no such thing as climate alarmism. Shut up and accept it. This would explain why Joe Biden campaigned on ending fossil fuels and bringing about economic devastation for millions of Americans back in 2020.
And yeah, I mean, he ran on it. And he could barely speak then, by the way. These are actually some of his most cogent moments. I'll say that.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those. Any fossil fuel. No more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry.
Look at Bernie. Like there's another one. Bernie, it's time to end it. Get out of there. All right. Maybe write a book. Maybe do a once a week talk show, Bern. Have someone help you with a podcast. Ride out in the sunset, Bernie. Don't be a zombie Jay. My God, he would be a scary guy in there right now. Because you're talking about the backdoor sustainability agendas.
To continue to drill, period. But I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate with it, okay?
Imagine living under the rule of people like that. Imagine living in a system where we, with a straight face, ask someone who's never had a real job in his entire life, who has no idea where electricity comes from, probably can't even change a light bulb at this point.
No, sir. Not a chance.
About our energy policy. And then taking his answer seriously. And what do you get when you do that? And apparently we did. 81 million votes he got. More than Obama. Really? Shut up and accept it. Well, the result is now our strategic petroleum reserve, maybe the most valuable thing the United States government owns, is depleted. And Russia, which we say we hate, is now once again one of the most important energy suppliers in the world. Meanwhile, your energy prices went up at double the rate of inflation last year. So what are we looking at here? Well, there are people with economic agendas benefiting from solar panels and the wind farms that kill endangered species.
Look, I'm all for the solar. I really am. I think that actually is a real technology that has been suppressed. And I realize the problem with storing the energy. That's the biggest problem out there. And these earth minerals. If you're going to automate something, right, that would be it. But why are we not automating that in the cobalt mines? Because slave labor is mother tucking cheap. There's too many people anyway. This is Malthusianism. The people at the top like it. They love sucking off the soul of humanity. That's how dark it is. That's the reality.
And they're the illiterate cultists in academia who are just for this because they're for it. As if to prove that point, Greta Thunberg, who just deleted a tweet from 5 years ago saying the world's going to end in 5 years, is about to get an honorary degree from the University of Helsinki. This is a girl who made a living by not attending school. So what's the degree in? Well, it's not science, not climatology. It's theology. But
they're giving her a theology degree. Remember that whole climate summit where they said a prayer at Mount Sinai and had to give up climate reparations? Bermas, you're going too far. That never happened. Happened this year. Okay? Let's just type in prayer, okay, for climate. Yeah, let's get climate change. Prayer for climate change. There's many a prayer. No. Let's go reparations. That's what we want. We must repent to the planet. No, that's not Gaian or pagan or anything. I spelled that wrong. Let's see that. Oh, thank you so much in 2015, Pope Francis. Is that really? Do I have to type in Mount Sinai too? This might be it right here. No, that's a prayer guide. Climate justice, religious of sacred heart. Man, a lot of people are praying to the climate, huh? Prayer for a reckoning? For climate just, my God. Let's do that. But then let's type in Mount Sinai. Oh, there we go. There it is. There it is right there. This is on the Christian Broadcasting Network. I mean, they're at least doing it. Here it is. Climate religion. What's up with that? Man, it's tough to find these things, but here it is right here. Climate justice, 10 Commandments, and the UN. All right, guys. We're going to play more of the Tuckins. We're going to finish up with that Tuckins piece. We're going to play the Gates piece. We got a little G. Edward Griffin. So I'm going to cue to my producer. It is time to leave the broadcast over here. redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Come join the fun for only $1 for the first week, $10 a month, or $100 for the year. Get everything Red Voice Media. Support the broadcast. And if you want to, just go over to the Podbean and listen to the rest for free. So Rockfin, we will see you soon. YouTube, we have to keep it somewhat censored for you. It's tough. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, everybody. We've lost like 40 subscribers this month.